right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. I spaced on today's show. I was literally in my brain while I was making the thumb for this video. I was thinking about what we have talked about so many different times, which is Russian tanks in Mexico. This is something that's been rumored for a long time as far as Russia teaming up with Mexico to do us dirty here in the U.S., and this is exactly what is being suggested right now, which is very, very freaky. Like I said, almost everything that we have talked about over the years, in some way or some way or another, that we keep finding that these things are actually happening or they're being suggested by MSM. There are all of these crazy, crazy things that people used to go, oh, those are the cuckoos that talk about this. And then all of a sudden, now mainstream, it's completely accepted. Almost all of the events that we talked about back then, like, oh, they were doing this and this with Walmart. And then it turns out they were doing this and this with Walmart. It's like all of these things just keep happening. And they used to have, that saying says, oh, well, if you heard it on the internet, everything's true on the internet, right? Is it? It's starting to look a whole lot like it. Russia could deploy ICBMs in Mexico, state TV warns. Now, again, this is kind of freaky considering right now Russia is headed down and they have now arrived in Cuba with not only an armada of ships, but they are also actually taking a nuclear submarine or multiple nuclear submarines down to Cuba, 90 miles off of the coast of Florida, which is pretty freaking scary. Considering we have P-8s in the sky right now, we will talk about that a little bit later. We have a new update on that, and I'm sure some of you have been talking about that as well. We'll give you an update on that. But first, Russians on Kremlin state TV yesterday declared that Mexico was their military ally and that they wanted to place their missiles on Mexican territory so Mexico can attack the United States. Jake Bro, a former U.S. Air Force nuclear and missile operations officer, stated on X on Sunday, says, quote, "This is insane." Days prior to this, Russian media pundits suggested that Moscow should deploy nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in the Caribbean in response to NATO countries, giving Kiev the green light to attack inside Russian territory using Western-supplied weapons. It is so, quote, insane that this would be threatened. Or would it be a natural reaction for any country at a time enemy missiles are being deployed right up against their borders? Now, of course, NATO has expanded. They have gained, of course, Sweden and Finland, and there's others that are now going to, that are asking to possibly join in the near future. You, of course, have that as the big kind of red line that Russia set on top of 1,000 other red lines that have now been surpassed. Now they are actually moving things around. They're doing what, if there was some sort of threat to the United States, usually to kind of react to this, we'll send an armada, a fleet of ships. Or, when in 93, when China started putting pressure on Taiwan back in the day, Bill Clinton sent 3 massive, carrier strike groups over to Taiwan, and China said, whoa, we were just joking, guys, and they backed off. This time we did the same thing, and I believe it was even 5. They ended up surrounding the island. Now with Russia and China and all of these other characters are all no limits partners now. They're all extremely close, and there are shipments and movements of military gear and arsenal and ammunition going between all of these countries like they are already in World War III. And then if you look at our side with NATO, these exercises like Steadfast Defender and Baltic Operations 2024 and Double-Edged Sword 55 or whatever the heck they're calling it, all of these are saying one thing, that both sides are preparing for a massive war. People are in denial about this. I think a lot of people are. Again, everybody has their own opinion, but I think that a lot of regular people that aren't following this don't even know it's happening. And then the people that hear that it's happening, they go, oh, this isn't World War III. It's never going to happen. We're never, ever going to see World War III. It's just not going to happen. Something else will happen. I don't get it. But again, I think that we are going to see it, and if it is orchestrated and all part of a plan, then it would be orchestrated and it would all be a part of a plan. That there would be a purpose behind it. There would be a goal. There would be something that happens after it. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV. So stick around. You do not want to miss this one. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. By the way, I fixed the thumb. I fixed the regular thumbnail. I'm going to fix this one right now. So I was literally in my brain, I was thinking of what we've already covered, which is that there were rumors from all sorts of Foogle fam of Russian tanks in Mexico. So I did change the regular one. It is Russian nukes that they're talking about. Much scarier than tanks. As far as Russian tanks, there were supposed sightings years ago. And of course, most chopped this up to be rumor and that this was fake, right? Back when this all happened, everybody was saying that there's Chinese tanks. Some said there were Russian tanks. It went back and forth, and they said that they're hiding them there and that they're secretly working with Russia. Again, this wasn't fact. This was what rumor is. And these rumors keep continuing to somehow, in some way or another, come true in the future, whether it's very close or something just right along the lines of what was originally said. It's just absolutely nuts. Now, as far as tanks, that would be the least of our worries, especially, heck, we already have enough coming in through our south. I'm sure that they've probably already got an armada set up there anyways. But as far as everything that is going on in the Darien Gap and along Panama and all the way through, there's a supply line being set up. I want to point out that there is a tank-wide column being set up in the Darien Gap in the middle of the jungle. Somebody is paying possibly millions of dollars, and I believe like the low estimate was at least $1 million or a couple million, to build a road down here, a column, a bridge in the middle of the frickin' jungle. So if you look, that this is the start of the path. This is the Darien National Park. This is the Darien Gap. I forget, it's about right around here somewhere. And of course, it goes all the way up. And then this is how people are getting through. Then they have to travel all the way up through all of this, through Guatemala, into Mexico, and then into the United States. It's quite a trip to think of the trek that a lot of these folks end up taking. And of course, a lot of this is actually coming from, there's a lot of Venezuelans that are included in this. If you look at their trek, they're coming from here. Now, who is Venezuela close with? Oh, yeah, that's right. Venezuela is super close with Iran. And even just a couple of years ago, we were covering how mysteriously an Iran ship, it was a cargo ship, turned into a naval ship, ended up catching fire on its way down to Venezuela. Who else is Venezuela close with? Oh, yeah, that's right, Russia, and even Cuba. So all of these guys are connected. Well, Venezuela is right now, they took a vote, and they now have troops all along the border of Guyana, and they say, they've done a vote. They said, hey, guys, should we take Guyana and all of the resources as ours, and should we take them over? And the vote said, yeah, we should. So obviously they've got like a newfound confidence. Who knows why? And of course, you have folks from Xi's country starting out here and now doing this trek. Maybe they're getting paid for each person in that sense, right? Maybe they're getting some help. Maybe that's who's paying for the multi-million-dollar bridge in the middle of the jungle, a tank-wide column, so you say. So all of this is happening, and now you have them talking about putting nukes into Mexico. Well, how realistic is that? Again, very, very crazy stuff being talked about. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Let's first of all the nukes in Mexico. How would this be through? Who would be officially able to even say yes to something like that? Could it be even possible? Right.
Well, look, they've had a position as of late to sort of try to be neutral, but at the same time, they have refused to back any of the U.S.-led sanctions on Russia, and they just changed their president to Claudia Sheinbaum. And by the way, there's a striking resemblance to her and the silhouette of the woman on the magazine cover. The what's the magazine cover? The Economist. Do you remember the woman who has the ponytail?
Oh, no way.
That cover. It is, in my opinion, it's Claudia Sheinbaum. And I only say that because every photograph of Claudia Sheinbaum throughout everything you can find, she's got a ponytail, and it's almost the same profile. But anyway, she is she just was recently put in. She's the new president there, picking up after Obrador. And we don't know what could change with that, but we've certainly seen some interesting positions between and even tensions between Mexico and the U.S., especially as we've pushed them, against the cartels, as we've pushed them in the past with, border issues and things like that. But then again, we are a huge trade partner. I mean, look at how many of our automobile manufacturers have packed up and gone to Mexico. So, unfortunately for us, but I guess good for Mexico.
Now I'm trying to find which Economist cover. I would love to. Was this?
I think it was this year, 2024. It was the one with all the little boxes and stuff on it, and the container ship.
Oh, that is right. Okay. Oh my gosh! Look at that. You have Zelensky. Whoa. Okay, that's very creepy. There's literal like nuke missiles here on the opposite side of the peace bird. You have Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and then who is that? Who does that look like? That is kind of freaky.
It's not just one picture. I mean, you guys go search her. Just look, go through an image search, and you will find every picture. Her hair is pulled tight back, ponytail, just like that, straight off the back, about the same length.
Okay, so let's see here. Let's do side view. There's got to be at least a couple, because there's oh no way, there's a profile right here. Okay, that is just terrifying. Oh, you're kidding. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Look at the nose. Oh, that is just freaky.
That's her.
Is that not? What is up with the Economist covers? We've covered them the last 3 or 4 years, and it always has something. And now it makes me want to look back at this. There's meteors on here, I believe, or what meteors? You've got, of course, Teslas. Chinese cars. This did come out quite a few months. Doesn't it always come out right before the next year? February, right? You've got the wind power, the tornado. I think that's what that was. And we covered this. It's the red and blue, and they merge just like the eclipse, right? But it's kind of funny because if you think about the red and blue merge and it shows like a mystery, right? And then it shows the ballots, and it shows Neuralink. Obviously, that's Neuralink, right? You can see that going on, connecting to the brains. You've got what looks to be a stock market and a currency crash, right? Or actually, no, the pound and the dollar both collapsing. And then the cargo ship. Do you remember the cargo ship? We had a cargo ship hit the bridge. Like, how does so many things in this damn cover end up coming true? It's just flippin' weird. And we shouldn't say come true, right? It's just like, how does this have so much to do with what's going on now? and then the woman who got put into power here right next to something that shows nukes. It's almost like there's a script or something. It's just wild. All right.
And the other thing, Adam, is she is in the exact opposite position, if you go across the screen, to the other person that is going to be, that they have a question mark on their head for the selection process. So all the more reason to think it's her.
Oh yeah, T-Man. So you don't know if it is actually them, and in juxtaposition to Putin. So that's kind of weird. What they put her above Zelensky and him above Putin. Peace, like they're the opposite, right? Huh? And then they're the opposite. And Mexico,
the opposite colors too, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I wonder too, it's like, Mexico had a big part of why we ended up getting into World War I. Is history repeating itself? It's the opposite or the competitor of everybody. That's definitely not Hillary, that's for sure. And then nukes and peace. That's just weird. All right. Moving on, let's go into the U.S. military has a plan to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape if China invades. Dex, go ahead.
So if China invades Taiwan, it may face a large lethal drone force meant to make its military, quote unquote, miserable. At least that's the plan, according to the top U.S. admiral in the Pacific, who said the, quote unquote, hellscape strategy is designed to distract China and buy the U.S. time to respond. So let's make sure we let them know what it is we're going to be doing in advance. But nonetheless, he says, I want to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape using a number of classified capabilities. So he is trying to buy us time. And he also says, I can make their lives utterly miserable for a month, which buys me the time for the rest of everything. The plan involves launching thousands of unmanned systems from surface vessels and submarines to aerial drones to fight the Chinese invading forces as soon as they begin to cross the Taiwan Strait, effectively acting as a kind of first line of defense.
Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, it cut out on my end. Did I interrupt you? Because I couldn't hear you.
No, I paused, and it's still streaming clear, so we're good.
Okay,
Keep going.
okay.
Yeah, everything I said came through.
All right, just because I totally cut out, where did you leave off?
I think the last thing I said was he was talking about all of the different types of things they're going to launch and buying the time, and that it would basically could confuse and distract China for about a month as soon as they start their invasion of Taiwan. Now, I sort of think of this as a lot of rhetoric. It's probably nice to have, but I mean, they can be in Taiwan in 30 minutes. So I don't know how much distraction he's going to give them with less than 30 minutes notice.
Well, that's if we don't actually keep a huge force there at all times. There's been a massive amount of deployments, and some of these deployments are not telling anybody where they're going. If you know friends and family in the Navy, then you might know that. There was, of course, 5 carrier groups at least carriers. I don't know if sometimes they roll multiple carriers per strike group, but they always have to have a strike group to protect them around them. But there was 5 carriers that were put over by the South China Sea. Some of those were redeployed to other places. If you keep a constant force in the South China Sea, you would have to keep them pretty close to match the timing of what China is able to do. Not to mention, we don't really get this like real-time update of when China leaves, right? China surrounded the island again. We are constantly seeing that Taiwan is posting that they are still outside the island, if not surrounding. They always leave ships there if they've done the surrounding drills before. But then they leave stuff there. They've left different ships just to sit there and kind of threaten them. So we would have to be out there. And if we see a constant force out in the South China Sea, then obviously that's kind of a sign that they're expecting something at any minute. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of the comments, let's go over to the chat. Say what is going on. Hey, how are you doing? Playkey over on DLive, Sean C, Terry Quinn, Charme, Hijoles Frijoles. Let's see here. New president from Mexico, the lady with the ponytail. Yes, that was who that is. Claudia Scheinbaum. Scheinbaum. But yeah, this is the Economist cover. Look at that profile. Does that not? I mean, who else is that? Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I don't think so. Even the collar. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Look at the freaking collar, Dex. Look at the collar. I mean, It's like they took that picture. Look, like that's a man's suit, a woman's suit collar. That's not on every dress. That is on this picture. The angle of it and everything. Okay, so that's like they took that picture and then they made it into a vector. That's crazy. So,
and they didn't have a question mark on her. Like they knew she was going to win.
And that's before she was.
Exactly.
Wow. That's freaky. And yeah, and then the cargo ship thing, and then recently we had the rumors of these cargo containers going in and being protected. Did you guys hear about this? We did a show on this a couple days ago, and it's just rumor. It's speculation. But it's rumors and speculation based on this gentleman who's going around and filming these silver containers, and I'm pretty sure that both the ones I saw were these silver with a red eagle on them, or like a bird, and that he says that if you try to get footage of them or go up close to them, that police actually stop you, and they've demanded him delete the footage. Some people think those are the K launchers, or the container launchers. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Why did they put the eye in the middle of the Neuralink thing, though? I wonder what they meant. Everything here means something. Like, it's just so weird that they do all of this. Every single thing on here means something. And then gold, all of that, which, if you think about it, it could be the opposite. Something could be tied to the other side of the page on all of these. Now, did you guys see this? Lindsey Graham he talked and he made a comment about UKR, about Zelensky's country. He says that there's $10 to $12 trillion worth of resources, and that it would highly benefit us if we were partners. It's like, did the truth really just come out? It's always about resources. When it was other conflicts, it's like, why are you really protecting these guys, right? Why are you really involved? In other cases, they're like, it's all about the oil. And they're like, no, it's not about the oil. It's weapons of mass destruction. And then they're like, it was about the oil. Now, some thought it because they have some of the most farmland in the world in Ukraine. But $10 to $12 trillion, there's got to be, there's a lot of stuff there. They say that it would make them one of the richest countries in the world or something like that. So, yeah, makes sense that everybody's going after it. So I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon, and it's probably going to get a little bit worse because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. It's not enough to pay off our debt, but it's enough to make a dent. And that's the funny part. I don't think they're trying to pay off the debt. I think they're just trying to grab that and disperse it through certain people. I don't know. But that's just my crazy, crazy thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the chat below. JPass, Space Monkey, and everyone else who just made it. Kath Biana says, I don't like Lindsey Graham, but about buy my tickets here. Yes, ma'am, the largest city made out of salt in Ukrainian. I like it. Wait until July fireworks. He sure doesn't drink. He watched his older brother die from booze. Who? Lindsey Graham?
T-Man.
T-Man. Oh, yeah. He doesn't drink at all. It's, it's kind of like I have a family member never smoked because they witnessed my grandma smoke cigarettes until they literally on their dying deathbed, my grandma asked my aunt to throw a chair out the window because she couldn't breathe on oxygen. It was pretty bad. It's part of why I quit smoking too. All right, let's see here. When you see somebody suffer that bad, a lot of the times it affects you more than you know. And then a NATO country says its warship was harassed by 2 Chinese fighter jets as it enforced sanctions on North Korea. A NATO country says its warship was harassed by these Chinese fighter jets, and it ended up getting kind of spicy. Mind you, a lot of these, the pictures of the new Navy boats are just, all of the China and Russia and the U.S. all have these super futuristic Navy boats now. A Dutch warship was harassed by 2 Chinese fighter jets last Friday as it was enforcing maritime sanctions against North Korea. Isn't that funny? So really just to repeat that, this is a Dutch warship that is trying to enforce the sanctions against North Korea. North Korea, most of the world agrees, should be sanctioned, and they all say, hey, they're all trying to back up what these sanctions are. China is coming to North Korea's aid and then harassing these ships for trying to do that. The Chinese aircraft circled the HNLMS Tromp, a frigate, several times while it was in international waters, this statement said. It added that the warship's patrol helicopter was also, quote, approached by the Chinese aircraft while it was patrolling the area. It says, this created a potentially unsafe situation, the statement said. The Netherlands, a NATO founding member, is the latest country to claim that China approached or intimidated one of its warships or aircraft in the region. In June of 23, China conducted a risky intercept of a U.S. spy plane over the South China Sea. The U.S. also released records in October of 23 reporting that multiple instances of aggressive flight conduct by Chinese planes. In April, a Chinese Coast Guard ship collided with a Philippine vessel inside of Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, so inside their EEZ. And as recently as May, Chinese jet released flares close to an Australian military helicopter over the Yellow Sea. So it does a good job of kind of summing up. We covered each and every one of these as it happens, and it's literally almost every month there's a big event regarding China. Now, we could be lied to. It's MSM, and even if it goes along with the confirmation bias you have, you should question everything. Like, what is really happening in this whole situation? Like, are they trying to go to war with China? Because it looks like China is definitely trying to go to war with us. If you believe what's being said, it really looks like they're being aggressive to the T. Again, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, Eli Ratner, said in 2022 that China's increasingly aggressive behavior in and around the South China Sea could eventually lead to, quote, a major incident or accident. According to the Dutch ministry, HNLMS Tromp had been at sea since March, sailing first to the Red Sea, then into the Indo-Pacific in June. It stopped in Busan, South Korea on June 3rd as part of its 7-month journey, according to a press release. The warship was patrolling the East China Sea in support of a multinational UN group that oversees the implementation of maritime sanctions against North Korea. It is expected to return to the Dutch city of Den Helder in mid-September via the Panama Canal and the Caribbean Sea. So it's actually going to be headed down near Panama as well. So I wonder if that's no accident either. But one thing I think of is we keep track of the U.S. and sometimes we get updates on the Australian Navy or the UK Navy or this or that. I wonder if you look at the entire NATO allied fleets of all of these countries, how many NATO ships are all over the world. This is a massive, massive force, and they're spread out really all over the place, all over the world. How many of them are in the South China Sea? How many are of the UK did they have over? Like, we know they had 5 ships over there from the US in the South China Sea just about a month ago. But was that joined by other smaller countries that really wasn't reported? How many boats really are there? Are these huge, huge groupings of dozens, if not hundreds of ships? I wonder Can you track that? By the way, you guys that track naval activity, can you track? And I know they can turn off their transponders, but a lot of times they don't have that. Have you ever seen that where you have multiple countries in these huge armadas? And have you guys been following the other countries? Because we mostly follow what's been publicly broadcasted, but I'm not somebody who knows how to use those naval sites. If you guys have information about that, email me or send it to us or put it in chat. Whatever day it happens, let us know. I would love for you guys that are following this closely to give us heads up on stuff. And then let's see here. Dex, we're going to go over the P8 hunting nuke sniffer and the E6 now heading up. So we have a breaking update on that. We're going to go over that here in 2 seconds, and Dex is going to fill you in. First off, though, I do want to remind you, we are independent, truly independent. We're on our own. If you guys want to protect yourselves at the same time as helping our independent channel, you can go over and check out EMP Shield. This is an incredible device, same device and same company that's used by agencies like DOD and the DEMSO team and the Department of Defense, DOD and, of course, DOE. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use code MARF to get a device that can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, pretty much anything that runs with the motor, generators, and even a solar generator in the case of the Flex 1500 and Flex Tactical. And you can even protect your home. These devices, once wired into your car, in fact, it's less than 10 minutes to put it in, will protect it against not only an electromagnetic pulse or an EMP attack from an adversary, but it will also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. It's 3 wires, red to red, black to black, on your battery, and then green to ground or a part of your chassis, and then bolted into your engine compartment, and you're done. You don't have to be a mechanic. You really don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be Mensa to put this thing in. It's very easy, but it is Mensa smart to do this because if either of those events happens, you're going to be able to drive when no one else is. It's an item that you won't need to use until it is essential. And once it's essential, it's going to be a lifesaver. So go over to marfoogle.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will help our channel at the same time. Everything that we do with the show, including the bibliographies and archiving everything, is put together every day for you guys. If you can help, just share us out and subscribe. That's the best thing. If you want to go an extra step, we think this is a great thing because you're getting something out of it. You're not just donating or giving money. You are getting something at a discount, and you're helping us at the same time. It's a win-win for everybody. And it could be the difference between you living and perishing in the event of either one of these events, EMP or a Carrington-level event. All right, Dex, let's get an update. So Foogle fam members have been watching this, and there's P8 over Florida. We've got nuke sniffers. We've got E6s up. Let's get the lowdown.
Yeah, so apparently a lot of people are discussing and watching and tracking, and I think this may be a little older at the time that the screenshot you're going to see for the P8, but it was obviously circling, around the base, but then heading down towards the water, and it's heading out in the direction of where it's going to start potentially tracking at the same time, and this is to be expected, folks. This is almost like the ultimate drill. When Russia announced that they're bringing a nuclear sub to Cuba, the guys who are sub hunters are going, yes, now we know for sure there's going to be one, and it's our job to find it. So they know, and as opposed to just constantly searching and wondering if there's one there and then trying to find it, they have one to specifically track. So that's what they're doing. At least that's my opinion. I think that would make the most sense, is to go spend your time over the next few days looking for it, because we know, as we reported on this channel on Friday, that one of the nuclear subs is actually headed in. And I would assume that's what they're looking for. And they're probably even looking to see if there happens to be any other subs that were not part of that announcement that may be lurking in the water. They've also put up the nuke sniffer, as they call it, the Hoover 31, the WC 135R, also known as a Constant Phoenix or nuke sniffer. It's a U.S. Air Force jet that collects atmospheric particles and gases, according to this post. So that's another object that went up in Florida. At the same time, the E6B Mercury which is a military aircraft that serves as communications relay and airborne command at the same time. So
isn't that the
all of this
Doomsday?
stuff happening. I don't know if it may be like the Doomsday. I don't know if it's the actual Doomsday, but it's a communications plane. So it's probably configured very similarly. But it seems like this one is used for command and control with other Navy and potentially Air Force or other things that are other airborne operations that are happening.
So, again, this is something to keep your eye on, and we will update you. And thank you, Foogle family member. Looks like Apocalypse Radio with WAG Chicago. Thank you for tagging us, and appreciate that.
And Jake B. I got to give him credit
And
too.
Jake B. Thank you so much. Let's see here. And then we have Ukraine claims first ever fighter jet strike on Russian territory. Well, the timing couldn't be any more clear as far as what's happening right now. You have Russian Navy settling in Cuba, and they're just doing a drill, just kind of like they did a drill outside of Ukraine along their border a year before they actually invaded, right? But now they say that they did their first ever fighter jet strike. And it's touting that it launched a successful airstrike by fighter jet inside Russian territory. Do you remember a year and a half ago, this would have been a giant deal? People would have been losing their minds. It didn't matter what side you were on. People were like, this is World War III. Now it's happening, and people are still denying that World War III is not possible. They're doing everything that a year and a half ago they would have said, whoa, they can't do that. Now it's been step by step, day by day, subtly doing one more thing over the red line to the point where people think, oh, they'll never strike back. We can cross as many red lines as we want, and Russia will never do anything. You never underestimate an enemy, especially an enemy that has shown you time and time again throughout history, which Putin has studied all of that history. Putin is an expert on that history, a chess champion, an ex-KGB, somebody who is literally somebody they say has surprised them time and time again with how he thinks, and that is exactly the thing that Russia has done even back in the Soviet Union. It has always done surprise. One thing that they know is war and military. They have studied it. It's one of the reasons why they're a major power. Other than their nukes, it's their military. And Ukraine is touting that it launched a successful airstrike. Sky News raised the likelihood that a Western-supplied missile was used in the attack, highlighting that it comes soon after Western allies, including the U.S., green-lighted Kiev's use of NATO-supplied munitions to attack inside of Russia. So you have now confirmation that they are now using these fighter jets that they got, which back, by the way, it was like, at one point, they were like, oh, we can't give them Patriots. We can't give them tanks. We can't give them this. Now we can't give them jets. Oh, we can't do that. They can't go over the border. Now people go, well, they're in a war. Of course they should be able to go into Russia and blow them. I agree. But if it's a war between those two, then they should be using their own stuff because they're at war. We're not. But instead, now the U.S. is saying, here, use our weapon, use our it's like you handing somebody your, 9mm and saying, here, take them out with this. And then saying, oh, I'm not responsible. Or even better, they believe that they're not even handing it off, that they have U.S. and NATO soldiers in UKR that are like, oh, here, throw me the weapon, taking it, shooting it, and going, oh, but no, it's these guys. It's their war, not ours. I just pulled the trigger, and it's our weapon. But it's their war. I mean, and it's our money. And it's our GPS satellites guiding it. And it's our infrastructure. But it's their war. We're just helping out. We're doing 90% of it. It's like when somebody would say, oh, hey, do you have a cigarette? Do you have a lighter? And then somebody would go, do you want me to smoke it for you too? We're basically doing everything in this. And by we, I mean NATO. So this is a big deal. And it's kind of crazy timing considering what's going on in Cuba And in the last month, having Russia in international waters off the West Coast doing launch drills. And then, of course, China at the same time surrounding Taiwan. Venezuela has troops on Guyana. North Korea is, of course, doing these crazy first strike drills a month after we do drills of taking them out after they do a first strike drill and warning that they most likely will do a first strike, on top of Iran and Israel and the Lebanon part of that starting up, and escalation after escalation, protests around the world. And of course, now you have everything else that's going on internally here in the U.S. with our southern border and military-age men coming in, and people are just still thinking, oh, it's all going to be okay. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? By the way, thank you, Carl Mosher. I appreciate your support. And thank you, Carlton Sutton. Thank you so much for your support today. Appreciate the super sticker. Kat, thank you for the super sticker as well. Nevitz, Kenny Cams, thank you. Lady L, Jackson Roche, Ultra Kuru, thank you this week. Resistance Homesteading, Josh P, and Sweatnam Ministries. You guys make sure to drop a C in the chat for Carlton Sutton. Thank you for your support today. All right. And as well, thank you, by the way, a couple mods here. Thank you so much for making it. I appreciate you guys. Eldon Badger, thank you. Stephen McMahon, thank you. Scratch, Deagle, L. Dobbs, Daggett and Stump, thank you for making it. And then, Dex, Russia's prepared to strike NATO F-16s.
Certainly. So the F-16s are not there yet, but they're on the way. And we've heard this rhetoric from Russia before, but it was clarified again today or yesterday by someone in the parliament in Russia. And he specifically was talking about how they're used and how they'll be targeted. So Andrei Kartabolov is the head of defense committee in the Russian parliament's lower house, said that but specifically was talking about them being quote unquote legitimate targets. But more specifically, he said if they take off from the airfields of some country, enter Ukrainian airspace, launch missiles, and return there, then that location becomes a legitimate target, not just the plane. He says, as for shooting them down, we can shoot them down anywhere. So if they're in the air and they take off from UKR or they take off from a NATO country and fly into UKR, they're a legitimate target. So I think that what they're trying to get at is reiterating that if, let's just say, they try to protect the F-16s by keeping them in Poland, launching them from Poland, bringing them into Ukraine, and then moving into attack and then bringing them back to Poland, that would turn the base or the airfield in Poland where they are into a legitimate target. So, again, obviously they are concerned about the F-16s. It's hot off the heels of UKR making some sort of contact with potentially Western weapons using their existing fighter jets. So they're, pushing back.
And South Korea says North Korea is installing its own loudspeakers along the border. South Korea, of course, is installing these speakers on the border, according to South Korea. And it said it's detecting signs that North Korea is not only putting in these speakers, but a day after the South blared anti-Pyongyang propaganda broadcasts over its speakers for the first time in years as the rivals engaged in a Cold War-style psychological warfare. The South's resumption of its loudspeaker broadcasts on Sunday was in retaliation for the North sending over 1,000 balloons filled with trash and manure over the last couple of weeks. North Korea has described its balloon campaign as a response to South Korean civilian groups using balloons to fly anti-North Korean propaganda leaflets across the border. So, and they're saying that these are regular people. They're putting balloons over, saying it's great over here. You guys are enslaved. Like, I have seen a couple of the pamphlets. Somebody sent me the pamphlets that South Korea sent over to North Korea. They essentially translate to, you guys are brainwashed. Your leader does. One of them even said, like, your leader does go to the bathroom. He's not a god. He's considered a tyrant. All these kind of things. North Korea was really pissed off by that. I don't know if the government ever has anything to do with that kind of stuff, but there is some pretty, almost childish things going on, especially on North Korea's side, sending manure and baby diapers over on balloons. The tit for tat over speakers and balloons has deepened tensions between the Koreas as they talk over the North's nuclear ambitions remain stalled. In the latest nuclear planning talks in Seoul, U.S. and South Korean officials reviewed an undisclosed guideline mapping out their nuclear deterrence strategies to counter growing North Korean threats. They also discussed strengthening the allies' combined military training involving strategic U.S. assets, the participants said in a news conference. So this is at the same time as all of these other countries are going head to head. Every one of these countries is having these extreme tensions. It's not like there's a single day without something going on between the two. It's not like you have weeks and weeks on end where there's really no interaction between these countries. It's every single day. So it's been something that just continually happens. And then Dex, Kim's sister, warns of further reprisals as trash balloons fly over the border.
Yeah, so now they're getting ready to respond again. It's I guess on one hand, it's not like let's test fire missiles and test fire rockets at one another, even though they've been doing that. It is just fairly harmless balloons outside of getting poo landing on you. That might be a little gross and probably unsanitary. I'm sure, regardless of what little they have to eat. But that said, it's obviously ramping up even on both sides. So as much as SK is saying NK is doing it, NK is saying absolutely, and we're going to raise it to the next bar because you're doing it. And so this tit for tat is growing on both sides. So we've kind of got both sides of the story here with Kim's sister saying a new counteraction due to the loudspeakers and prelude to a very dangerous situation. Coming out of the KCNA, which is the North Korean news outlet. So lots of rhetoric flying around on both sides.
Could you imagine an actual war started after, basically flinging poop at each other? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Harvest Right. If you have been looking at freeze-dried food and the prices, obviously it's a very expensive thing to do. The reason why people go for freeze-dried food is because it can last up to 25 years. It is extremely easy to store, and of course, it lasts a very long time. If you want to do it yourself, it becomes a hobby, and many people actually enjoy it, and it turns into a part of their life because they enjoy it so much. Harvest Right makes some of the best machines out there. If you remember during CV, all of the stuff that was going down, Harvest Rights were almost impossible to get. They were on back order forever. People were scalping them. They were charging way more than they should have. These machines are well built. They're made like appliances used to be made. Again, I think that this and any other product that we choose, I would never choose a chintzy machine, especially if it's like an appliance. It's got to be something that lasts a very long time. Harvest Right does, and it's very easy to use. It can freeze dry food, and of course, you can freeze dry a ton of stuff. There's whole videos before you even dip your toes into something like this. I would highly recommend going to their website, watching some videos, or just go on YouTube and look at Harvest Right freeze dryers, and there's people with different recipes. If you're into gardening, if you make your own food, it's a great way to not waste all of the fruit and veggies you can't eat. You can freeze dry them. You can freeze dry your own food. You can save a ton of money once you get the machine. The machines are an investment, and that's why it's important that they last. But once you get it, then it turns into a cool lifestyle. It's honestly really, really cool. There's a pretty much the real strong point, though, is once you've invested in it, then you can freeze dry your own food. And they say you can basically spend 25% 25 to 30% of what you would pay for pre-packaged freeze-dried foods. What those companies are charging you for is, of course, it takes time to freeze dry and then packaging them, the packaging, all of that. But if you do it yourself, you can seal it in Mylar bags. You can do all the same stuff. on your own, you will save a ton of money. On top of that, you can also go discount shopping. You can go look for the most affordable stuff possible. You can shop where you want to shop. You can get your meat where you want to go. Again, it's really, really something you can customize. And if you have dietary restrictions, or if you want all organic, or if you don't want, certain things in your food, this is the way to do it. And if you have a large family, this will most definitely save you money in the long run, especially if you're trying to get 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months of food for multiple people. If you have a family of 4 or more, then this is going to save you a ton of money. Freeze-dried food, if you go buy it just a single meal at Walmart, it could be $15 for a single meal or more now. I think they're like 17 or 18 now. But again, something like this, it could cost you as little as $1 or $2, or as little as the Mylar bag and whatever food that you acquired. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/freeze. Again, check it out. It is our recommendation, and that gets you a big discount, and they have sales all the time, and they're actually doing one right now. All right, and then we have ISIS, that everybody's favorite group, right? That is now ISISK, and I say it on purpose like that. Lone wolves threat to Paris 2024 Olympics with chilling mock-up of the Eiffel Tower being attacked by drone. Now, Dex, there was a soccer game. Remember that? I think it was soccer. No, it was croquet.
Yeah, it was
cricket.
Cricket in New York.
Whatever happened to that? Did anything happen?
It's still coming up. I don't think that date has happened yet. I have to look it up.
Can you get me a picture of that cricket threat? That was a very creepy threat there. But yeah, let's see here. But that they're saying that these events, which by the way, we just had something happen locally here, or maybe it was in Alabama, but in the United States, there was just an event at an apartment complex today. Even 6 people were shanked, essentially. I don't know if that was just somebody, if it was a bad neighborhood and somebody was pissed or just had a explosion or a mental breakdown. But those kind of events are very scary. If you saw the video of the police officer that was taken out and the attempted, forced perishing of that critic about a month ago, there was a gentleman, Strausenheim or Stotzenberger. There's this author and critic of Muslims, and he was in public at an event, and some guy just went, had a thing this big, and a cop ends up accidentally tackling the wrong guy, tackles a guy that was apparently trying to help tackle the knifeman. While he's on top of him, this guy just in the back of his neck, and afterwards he's sitting up, and like you see the video and you think, oh good, he's okay. It almost looks like he wasn't hit at all, but apparently it went down in his back. It's really bad. It's crazy because for the first week they didn't blur it or anything, and now it's like multiple sites skip over that part, or they'll go over it because you realize like that's him. It's really bad. Those kind of events, we keep seeing videos of this happening all over. Now, some of our community look at that and go, is this 3-letter agency stuff in some of these? Like, what is really happening? Those are the kind of events that people wonder if this is just to scare people, or if this is to put fear into us, or if these are the legit groups. Who is running the legit groups? Who funded these legit groups? Legit. And then is this the same group as it was before? They added a letter, and essentially it's a different formation, but they say they back kind of the same stuff. It's like, where do these play a part into the bigger picture, right? Well, what's scary is it's always in like a public place. It's always at a speech or at a public event. This is why, in general, you should be prepared. You should also protect yourself, and you should also be careful about how you get into something. Like that guy ended up getting taken out, tackling the wrong guy. There was chaos, didn't know what was going on. Dex, go ahead.
I got you the current Paris version, the New York version, and the prior article we covered. It's all in the map. If you just reload it, they all should pop up.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this is the Paris. This is the Paris event, and man, these are the worst. And you know, I don't want these guys to come after me, but I'm just saying, you know, take a class in Photoshop or something. But Lone Wolf's Olympics have begun with the will of, right? And they literally wrote gift on it. Like, okay, we got it. It's a package. Like, did you? And what's even crazier is they used the stock image of a DJI. Tex, did you notice that? Like, this isn't funny, but it's kind of like they literally use a DJI drone. I don't even think that's a DJI. They just used a stock image of a DJI drone. And they're saying they're going to drop a gift on Paris. That's scary. And then this is the other one. This was the New York one. It says, you wait for the matches and we wait for you. Nassau Stadium. No, I think that was yesterday, Dex. Yeah, that was yesterday. So that didn't happen apparently, right? So these, and that also showed a drone. But one thing we're seeing a lot of is they're talking about drones in all of these wolf threats. And then this had a snipe, a guy with the snipe. And then today, right, they talk about how all of these different plots were stopped, right? This was on here. It basically says, Rise of Terror foiled ISIS plots across Europe in the last 12 months. So we have these in our own country. What's kind of odd, they show a masked man, but a lot of the times, a lot of these attacks have been guys that are just out in the open just doing it. But it says the chilling threat vaguely indicates there could be attempts to carry out a lone wolf-style attack across Paris amid the upcoming games. France is already on high alert amid a slew of vile threats made by terror outfits. Just a few days ago, French counter-terror cops foiled a plot-inspired attack, which was planned during the Olympic Games. The country's domestic intelligence agency arrested 18-year-old Rochman B., who was suspected of organizing an attack on a football game in Lyon. I think that's how you say it, Lyon. The Chechen to France is said to have wanted to disrupt games planned in Saint Etienne, city in the east of the country, and Montmartre, by not only taking out spectators, but also taking out police officers. And then we've talked about a lot about Macron, of course, has called a snap voting process in France. Dex.
Well, apparently he didn't get what he wanted in the EU vote that went down for the parliament. So what some are calling as a risky move, he called for a snap selection process where he wipes out the parliament and they start over again. Which on some hands, some are suggesting that some of his rivals, like Marie Le Pen and that party, will actually gain some more strength. So some are wondering, is this really a good thing, or is there something else happening here? And he's not going to do this. Now, of course, his notion was to the public, hey, I've heard you speak. Clearly you don't like what's going on. So I'm going to clear the decks and let you reset. That way you guys can, get what it is you want. But I really think it's something more in it. At least there's probably a bigger plan at play here. He is still set for 3 years. He's not going anywhere.
Okay, but how does this happen? I've seen a lot of videos of people crying. There are people crying, and people are relating it almost like how when Hillary lost, the videos of that. They're making direct comparisons. Some are even showing videos of that from 2016, and then people responding to how this day went. How do they do that? They just say, "Oh, let's start over," like, or
I guess in their form of government, they have the option, and I guess it's called a snap selection process, using the extra S word there, but to basically restart the parliament there, and that is
a do-over.
What he's doing. It's like a do-over. It's kind of weird. I didn't know you could do that, but apparently he's done it. He's asked for it, and obviously it's something that's in their their doctrine of their country. I don't know if it's a constitution or not, but whatever they have, that their laws that say how it works. So that's a choice. Now, I guess there's a lot of risk in doing it, is what a lot of people are saying. It's kind of a risky move, but I also wonder if there's something more sinister going on here, where they know they're going to get something better that they want, which might lead them back to the European parliamentary selection that will work in their favor. I don't know. I am not that well versed in French politics, but it does seem odd.
What if people really weren't that upset with the results, but yet the social media companies and everybody else, because I've seen so many viral videos, but it's about 10 really big ones that are just like getting reused and rehashed everywhere, all over X and Twitter. There's the same videos that are circulating. Couldn't they take 10 of those videos, say, hey, social media platform, can you just make sure this goes viral? So everybody in the world is thinking, oh, everybody is pissed off in France. Or is everybody really that pissed off? Because it seems like the opposite was true, that they say one thing, but then the people are out in their streets protesting against that in numbers, and it's usually lining up more with what people think is the truth. In this case, I don't know anything about how the people involved in that parliamentary thing, but something that just seems shady. Like, people cried about it, so they just get to go mulligan. I'm glad we don't have that, but I guess it would be good in some ways, right? And then can they do it again? I'm assuming not, right? They get one chance. And then is this one going to be different? Are they going to, take rolls of paper and go, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Okay, nobody can see. I don't know. What do you think? Let's see here. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Danish Girl. Much love to everyone. Thank you so much for your support, Danish Girl. Thank you for supporting Independent. Thank you for being an awesome Foogle family member. And thank you to Genius by Birth and others. Thank you guys for all of you that just joined and got a badge. Appreciate that. Thank you. Team Alaska, Alvanita Lambell, Captain Opana, and G62 Data, Michelle Milliken, and Jim Bode's Art. Thank you. Beans and Frank, Burger Time, our guy 936 last week. Thank you. Ramshackle, Stealth Mode, CJ, Digital Revolution, Dave Peel, Cowgirl Hippie Chick, and Andrew this month. Thank you. All right. And UN Security Council adopts U.S. draft resolution supporting the Strip ceasefire deal. By the way, speaking of ceasefire, there's a video of AOC, and it's got to be fake. Dex, have you seen the video of AOC saying ceasefire is anytime you see fire? Like, seafood? Oh, seafood. That's got to be an AI video, right?
That's ridiculous, but okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but the way you're describing it, I just can't imagine that would be legit. But then again, you never know with some of these people.
I know she's said some confirmed, verified dumb things, and I know that they can do AI videos now, but this one looks legit. But maybe they did an AI voice and then lined it up with her mouth, because they've done that as well. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's spot on. If that's fake, that's a really good fake. If it's real, I am so terrified for our next generation of politicians. Like, that's horrific. This next generation of kids, they have been brought up in the full-on changed over system. It's terrifying. Yeah, I'd love to see that wrote in cursive in a time only read on a analog clock. But the UN Security Council, Dex, do you want to go over what they just did and what they're trying to do?
So they have just today or Monday afternoon adopted the U.S. draft resolution that urges the other side there in the Strip, in the Moss, to accept the ceasefire and the release deal of the people that are being held captive there. So 14 members of the council voted in favor of it, and only one, Russia, abstained. So they didn't veto it. They actually have veto power. So they just sat back, which is fine. So this, again, I guess is part of it could be a bigger deal to say, look, we've got all these countries from the Security Council, sans Russia, but you've got the UN, they're pushing for this, but the real question is, will it actually hold? I mean, look, it seems like every time, one side wants to do a ceasefire, the other side's got some reason not to. And both sides can never come to an agreement. The real question is, will, Israel accept the proposal? Will the other side accept the proposal? And will they actually do it, or will they just continue down the path they've been going down, which is to continue to battle? And as we know, this just continues to lead to more conflict in the north, like in Lebanon, as well as other countries east of there, Syria and Iraq, that have been escalating things in addition to everything with the down in Yemen. So Middle East is still a tinderbox, if you want to call it that. It's probably much more.
I wonder how. Yeah, it's a powder keg. And I wonder if we see if we look back in 2 years from now, how many people and how many structures will have a different power structure after all of this is done. If this is for reorganizing of power, like, is there an ulterior motive other than just take out the bad guys? Or on the other side, is all of this meant for a bigger global reason? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then aircraft carrying Malawi vice president goes missing. Yeah, missing. An aircraft carrying Malawi's vice president, Salos Chilima, and 9 others has gone missing. A statement from the president's office has said. Dex, the first thing I thought when I saw this is our conversation the other night. Was it last night? Don't tell me it was last night. It was the night before, if not. Do you remember? You know what I'm about to say, right? Our conversation about blank. What was our conversation about?
I don't know. I'm fuzzy right now, man.
Finish each other's sandwiches. Gosh. About missing leaders and leaders trying to get taken out. That's okay. I didn't set it up properly. It's almost like we finish each other's
sentences.
Sandwiches, man. Jeez.
Sandwiches.
Jeez. We were just talking about how the Mexican leader just was, well, I think they took him out. One of the mayors or people like this, all these assistant vice presidents, this and that, all of them getting taken out. Iran, of course, that was one of the big ones that set off at least 7 or 8 of these events. Iran, the president got in a mysterious helicopter crash, perished. Now you have, and many people go, who cares? What does Malawi have to do with it? All of these smaller countries, especially the ones that are possibly, going to be pulling strings and part of BRICS or something like this, there could be tons of things that we don't know about their regional politics that might tie into the bigger scheme of things. But the Malawi defense aircraft went off the radar when it left the capital, Lilongwe. On Monday morning, it added, the plane was supposed to land at Mzuzu International. In a speech late on Monday, President Lazarus Chakwera said a search and rescue operation was continuing. The reason for the aircraft's disappearance is not known yet, General Valentino Fiori told Chakwera. So are they going to find that this crashed? And of course, they told the BBC efforts to find the aircraft are intensive. Mr. Chilimo is on its way to represent the government at the burial of former cabinet minister Ralph Kalsambara, who perished just 3 days ago. It says Mr. Konku says the airport he was to land, which was in the northern part of Mazuzu, was the closest to where the funeral was taking place. In 2022, Dr. Chilimo was arrested and charged on allegations that he accepted money in exchange for awarding government contracts. So this has Shady wrote all over it. This is like a 2024 rapper's tattooed face. Okay? It's all over it. Shady. Shady, will you please stand up? Oh, what's that? You're missing in a plane and no one knows where you are? Huh. Planes are kind of hard to just go missing. I guess we'll see, and they should find it relatively quick. I mean, even where it's at. I mean, again, they say Africa is going to be the breadbasket of the world, right? Malawi. What is going on in Malawi? And what executive order? JB memo instructs SoCal Border Patrol to release most single adults. What do they mean by release single adults, Dex?
Well, as he announced he was closing up the border, and everybody thought, oh, that's great. But at the same time, he sent a note, apparently, which has been now, I don't want to say intercepted, but has been seen and released and shown by media outlets, including mainstream media outlets for that matter. It's not some side thing. That was sent to the Customs and Border Patrol agents in Southern California, in the San Diego area, telling them that they must release any single adults from all countries except for 6. Now you might think, oh, well, at least they've got 6 countries. Those are got to be the worst countries out there. Well, those 6 are just Uzbekistan, Russia, Tajikistan, Georgia, Moldova, and Kyrgyzstan.
So no China?
No China.
No Iran? No Venezuela? No Cuba? No... What?
Nope.
Oh, and did he write a little smiley note and then wrote, what's the code to the garage again? And then he wrote, oh, military age men, just let them through. What? He actively, everybody publicly like, oh, we're shutting down, we're hard on this. And then does a side note, says, hey, release most of the adult military age males. Just the single ones, not those dirty ones with the families and the people to support. What? Specifically single? What do you think that says? Okay. Are people catching what we're throwing here? Like, I can't believe we live in a world where things are this obvious. This is insanity. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And let's see here. Again, thank you, Danish Girl. Thank you over on DLive. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Shugs, Kimbria. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, all of the mods. Make sure to go over and check them out at marfooglenews.com/friends. That's again, marfooglenews.com/friends. You can actually find all of the links for every single one of our mods and great creators down below. Wages has been super active covering all of the solar events, so make sure to go check him out. All right, and then Elon Musk says he will ban Apple devices if it integrates OS with OpenAI. So this is crazy. Me and Dex actually were arguing about this for about 25 minutes, and it was back and forth because I have a paranoia of everything, and I actually agree with Elon on this. So, but Elon did kind of misconstrue something, and Dex had kind of a great point, basically, that there was some stuff. He actually got fact-checked on his own platform. He got straight up fact-checked by the X community notes. But essentially, what he's talking about is how Apple just announced its new AI, would, and here's how I'm going to put it, and Dex, you can put it the way you said it, but how I see it is that it's going to be baked into future iPhones. ChatGPT, they're going to work with Microsoft, which is their arch nemesis, and essentially they're doing their own phone-based AI. It is inside. They're not making a full-on ChatGPT contender. They're making something that only focuses on the information in your phone and helps you navigate your phone. So it is completely help, like, oh, can you find the appointment I have, whatever else, inside the phone. But they said it's also going to be able to access any third-party GPT, ChatGPT, AI. But in this thing, from what I understand, is that ChatGPT will be a pre-installed thing, and how we've seen this with multiple other things. Like when you buy a new phone that it's unlocked, it will come with, like, say, Google, and you cannot delete it. It is one of the factory set apps that you cannot delete. Like on iPhones right now, you cannot delete Safari. I don't think you can. Can you, Dex? But essentially, when I say baked in, from the factory, when you buy a new iPhone, it's going to have ChatGPT. A lot of people saw this immediately and said, this is like you're in bed with the enemies. Now, Apple has always been pro-privacy. Dex, you have made a lot of great points over the years about how they were the first to do like end-to-end encryption. They actually do care. They've denied requests, even on a person who was like a tear cell person. They asked for their information on their phone, and Apple said, no, we don't do that, because if we do that for this, then we have to do it for everything. So they've been good about privacy as far as the public is concerned. But I don't believe they say one thing to the public, and by they I mean all of these companies, and in the boardroom, they're saying something different. In this case, to have ChatGPT, which is owned by Microsoft, baked into any phone, I don't trust it. Elon said that he would literally ban Apple products from his office, and he said that he would have people, if this happens, then anybody who has an Apple is going to have to come to work and put their phone in a Faraday bag. And that's because there's worries that maybe that ChatGPT or that AI could then spy on him, which he has his own AI company, and that means it would be able to spy on what they're doing, or there's the possibility there. Now, Dex, you actually think this also has stuff to do with Elon asking about his pay compensation package, and there's a lot of other stuff there too.
Yeah, if you want me to go there, I can. But I think, if he, I think what you'll see is when the phone comes out, they'll still have iPhones in his office, because if the phone is doing what Apple says it's doing, and here's how I would put it. If a company is going to, like we just talked the other day about the new Windows laptops that are taking screenshots of every screen on your computer full time, recording everything you're doing so that it can help you. Well, that's kind of creepy. Then it comes down to the question of who's doing that, where's it going, and how's it being stored? Well, that's Microsoft. And it's kind of like, well, not a lot of trust there at all. Well, Apple came out today and said, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to try to do something that no other AI company has done. We're going to try to be more trustworthy, the best we can do. And I got to give them credit because they went in the right direction. They said, look, we'll put the stuff on the phone so that it's controlled by you. It won't leave your phone. And then what does leave the phone will come to an Apple server. And if it does come to an Apple server, it's not ChatGPT by any means. It's their own software. They even said it won't even be stored on the server. It will only be the information needed to be processed on the server and then deleted immediately. And they also said they would provide open transparency to all of that code to prove to the world that nothing is being tracked, stored against everybody, because they're trying to add this layer of privacy with AI, which is a totally different approach than, say, OpenAI or any of the others. And as in a matter of fact, when they spoke about OpenAI, because I actually watched the keynote and listened to it, I didn't want to just take Elon's, fluff and run with it. They even went so far as to say, and if you need to use that other kind of stuff that's out there, meaning it might be more scary, then you have to opt into it. You have to say, yeah, I need help from ChatGPT, so I'm going to click a button. And every time you want to use it, you have to click a button acknowledging that you're sending something to ChatGPT.
But it's baked into the phone. It's built into the phone.
However, whatever. That's the point is the interaction that they're taking. The approach that they're taking is trying to be more open and honest with everybody about what's happening. Now, mind you, is that the right way? Does that solve all of our security problems? I don't know. I have no clue. It's certainly much better than what I've seen from other providers out there. And it's certainly much better than what we've seen with even OpenAI itself, who, just has used everybody's stuff willy-nilly and, done what they wanted. Now, my comment earlier about Elon was just, hey, by the way, let's understand what his position is. He is trying to get his shareholder package approved. His shareholder package with Tesla is all about him bringing AI to Tesla. If they don't approve the $46 or $56 billion package, then he's not bringing AI to Tesla. He's going to leave it to himself. And if Apple comes out and makes great hay in the market today about how awesome this new AI innovation is, what does that do to his AI, and does that devalue it in the eyes of the shareholder? And will some people now think they might not want to vote for his big, expensive $56 billion compensation package? So,
but he also owns that AI, the AI from X and Grok. But by the way,
yes, and he's got a $56 billion price tag on it at the moment that he's trying to get it sold to. So he's got something on the line. Everybody is using their shares as we speak to decide whether or not he's going to get that.
The community notes is gone on that same post. Did you see that? There is no community post, or am I missing it somewhere? That same post you sent me earlier, the how intelligence works, there's no community notes under it. I wonder if it was removed, or if he proved that it was wrong, or
on the homepage, or his home screen / Elon Musk, the community notes are still there. I just refreshed them. I don't know if it's not showing for you.
Huh. And you're on X, or?
Yeah, x.com / Elon Musk. I'm logged in, refreshed.
Huh. Weird. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, it's still there. I'll refresh it again.
Is it on that same post, or did he post it again?
No, it's that same post.
Huh. Weird.
Oh, now it just went away. It was there.
Telling
it went
you.
away again. But I have a screenshot of it, so if you guys don't believe it, he was actually fact-checked by its own community post. So what does that tell you? That he can take community posts off his own posts? I thought the community posts were supposed to be the community.
Here's my view. I'm not fully with Elon. I just don't trust. I don't trust any company, including Apple. If they bake something into a phone, year after year I cover all of these stories of how if it is baked onto the phone, say if you say, hey, write me an essay, and Apple goes, here's a prompt, you have to send this to ChatGPT, which is also already built in at your convenience, and it will only grab the information it needs, it will send it to ChatGPT, and then it will make it. Why do they need it on the phone then? Why can't they just, because people are saying that they are baking it in. The people's response to this is, why are they baking it in?
Well, it makes it better experience. You're in the middle of writing a long document, and you're in a Word document, and you need to help with a paragraph, and you so choose to go to ChatGPT. Like, do you go to ChatGPT and copy and paste it, or do you just highlight this and say, hey, can you fix this? And yes, I want to send it to ChatGPT, and it pops right back into your screen.
I even went to...
I get you don't trust it. I don't trust AI either.
I would put it in the Faraday bag too.
Yeah, all I'm saying is the approach that this company has taken is different than any other company. They didn't just say, hey, we're just going to start screen recording all your crap and watch everything you do. They said, we're trying to do what we can come up with and trying to create innovative solutions to add privacy and add transparency. Now, I think somebody like Elon should have applauded that and said, hey, I don't like the OpenAI people, and I don't like them either. But it's just one of many. I mean, the theory I have is you come 2 years from now, you're going to see Apple and all these phones plugged into ChatGPT, Grok, Bard, all of the GPTs when they become public. They're all going to be services just like Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo
which
are
are
all
baked
search
in.
engines.
They're
all baked in, and they're just search engines. They're services to tell you how to find information about how to bake a cake or how to find information.
But they're not just
in an encyclopedia.
But they're not just a search engine. We know that they're spying on everything we do, and then add AI to that, and that's terrifying. And Grok, I don't see baked into any phones yet.
Yes, but you're lumping the whole. When you say that, you're lumping the entire AI umbrella into something like a large language model, and a large language model like ChatGPT, as bad as it can be because it is a large language model and it can say bad things. That's not all of the umbrella of AI. All of the umbrella of AI can go much beyond that. And the large language model of ChatGPT is really about taking this corpus of information that is everything on the internet, like all of the Wikipedia information and all of, every movie that's ever been produced, and be able to answer questions about it. And that's a huge, vast amount of data that you could never put on your phone. You could never put in a hard drive in your house so that you could privately ask those types of questions. You have to have a service out there that does that. Now, is OpenAI going to be the best service? No, but it's the only service right now. That's the problem. I'd love to see other people do it and do it better, especially if they're more privacy-minded than OpenAI. That's my opinion.
At the end of our conversation, we were back and forth, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to have everybody put everything in a Faraday bag at this point. I was basically like, I'm Elon right now. I'm Faraday bagging everything.
Let's get some clamshell phones, man. Let's go back. That's all we need. I think they still make SIM cards, don't they? We can probably get a clamshell. Maybe a BlackBerry if you just need to text.
By the way, Dex has always been pro Apple, and I've been pro Android. And I'm not pro Android like that stuff, but I've always liked Android. He's always liked Apple. And there's Apple people and Android people. We're the opposite on so many different things. And on this one, I'm like, how people look at it, they're like, Apple is going directly and doing a massive integrating with OpenAI, which is owned by Mr. Gates. And I just don't trust that dude at all. And I don't trust OpenAI. I've used ChatGPT, but I don't trust the damn thing. And if it's going to be baked into all further iPhones, I would be putting it in a Faraday cage too. But I'm a nut. That's why none of my friends and family thinks I'm normal. So that's totally cool. And then moving on, but do you agree, disagree? Would you want, most of us have Microsoft products. We all have Microsoft stuff. We already have all this. The one thing I hear a lot of is it's too late anyways. It's already there. It's this. I don't like AI.
You're right.
I don't like AI.
You're right, Adam. Especially in the Microsoft realm, we're all going to have to get a new computer at some point. And that's the computers they've got now. They all have that AI on it, and there's no way to get around it. So what are you going to do when the next laptop you need, or you break your laptop and you got to go buy a $300 laptop, a cheap laptop? They're all going to be that.
Can we go back to what you just said? We covered this a few weeks ago. Dex mentioned something. The new Microsoft stuff is going to screenshot every second of what you are doing on your screen. This is a benefit. They are selling this as a freaking benefit. Everything that you do is going to be screenshotted, so you can go throughout the history of everything you've done. If something happens, you can go back to it, right? What was the benefit? Like, why are they saying that's a good thing? I'm so confused.
So it can learn what it is you're doing when you're doing it and give you more intelligent suggestions.
No. No,
I'm not trying to compare Apple to it because I don't know if Apple's doing the screen recording. They didn't say they are, but like they're looking at it more like, right now, when you get a text from somebody and it says, or you say happy birthday to somebody in a text, it'll pop a little notification above and says, hey, do you want to add their birthday to the to your address book, right? So that you remember it's their birthday. Like that's logical stuff that happens. And that's what they're trying to take is make that more intelligent, where you can ask it a question like, my mom's coming in town. I got to pick her up at the airport. We're supposed to go to lunch here. Am I going to make it on time? And by the way, I don't remember when her flight's coming in. And it can look at all of your information and give you that answer, but it's doing it only on your phone. It's not screen recording everything. And if it is, that's going to be super scary. But that's what Microsoft's doing with that laptop, man. Super nuts.
Somebody said, imagine the storage you'd have to do all that. Well, and now in the future, and they've got all this stuff. We're talking about, everything. Storage has gotten extremely small too for how much they can do. Like just in general, even on a consumer end, if you want a terabyte drive, it used to be, a giant box. If you wanted a gigabyte, it used to be, everything has gotten small. Now you can get in a cell phone a terabyte of storage. Dex, physically, wasn't a terabyte a big like a big hard drive back in the day?
Yes. It was a lot. I
know it was a lot, but how big was it? Like physically, could you get it? You could get a terabyte back then, but how big was it? Like a server size back in the day?
Well, at one point they were in the large format, like a 5.25 drive, but then they made them in 2.5 drives, and then they got them down into SSDs, which is what we have in our phones, and now you can get them into tiny chips, right? You can get a terabyte in a USB, reader. But that's the other thing with all of this data that we're producing, photos, videos, everything that's our own data. Like if you want to store that on your own, you've got to have your own server farm. You've got to have your own, what they call a NAS, a network attached storage, and put that in your house. And now you're getting into geek territory.
Which almost everybody, you just lost people. NASCAR?
I know.
NASCAR?
Sorry.
I already got NASCAR. It's in my living room right now. Okay, that's where I'm at. Okay, well, let's move on. We've again, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out My Patriot Supply. If you don't have the ability to go get yourself your own harvest rate, you can get some of the most affordable freeze-dried food over at marfooglenews.com/prep. This is through My Patriot Supply, which is, again, you can get anywhere from a 72-hour kit. You can actually get all sorts of different stuff there down to a single item. A 3-day kit for a go bag, or up to a 3-month package, which actually has 3 months of food for one person. Very easy to do math on that. That means it's a month of food for a month and a half for 2 people, or 3 people for a month. It makes math easy as far as if you have your family and you say, hey, we need 6 months of food for 4 people, then it's pretty easy to do the math. You have everything, and you have basically everything you need to schedule out. You have meals for everybody. It's freeze-dried, so it can last 25 plus years, or up to 25 years, depending on which foods it is. But again, that means it's going to be good until the 2050s. That's insane. Again, and it's easy to store. It is very efficiently stored, as far as sealed in Mylar bags, then depending on the size of the package, sealed into buckets, and then you can store those however you'd like. All you have to do to bring them back to life is just add water, cook in water, or cook in sauce, and then boom, you've got yourself food. Highly recommend going and checking it out. It is one of the most affordable ways to get yourself bulk food like this. The more you get, it's kind of like Costco. The more you get, the bigger savings you end up receiving. Now, they always have a giant discount with our link. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You do not need a code. All you have to do is use that link, and it will already be applied. So whatever special is going on, they sometimes do 200 off of a 3-month supply. Sometimes they do 40 off of a 1 month. They'll do all sorts of different things. Sometimes, depending on when you're watching this, again, they'll have crazy discounts. So go check it out right now, marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and now we're going to talk about so first of all, I'm not going to get into this much because I got really deep into it over on Marfoogle News, but there is some new evidence that the Cascadia subduction zone is actually broken up into 4 pieces. I have actually reached out to some of the people I've talked to in the past about this. The whole thing is this is my subject. I love this. I've actually have hundreds of hours of different footage taken from Washington and from ocean shores and other things. And I was working on a documentary for this, which I bit off too much to chew. Also, CV happened, and I really just everything hit the fan at the same time. But I am still working on this. The difference between this and when I started that documentary, again, I was self-funding it. I never asked anybody to help. I maybe I should have. I don't know. But again, it is a project that was a passion for me. But one thing I'm very happy to say is now so many more people know about it than when I first started talking about Cascadia. When I first started talking about Cascadia subduction zone, nobody knew what the really big one was. Nobody knew what Cascadia meant. I brought a lot of information. I actually brought a lot of information to people in Ocean Shores and to different places like West Point and others, because I was really afraid for these people that are in towns that are going to be underwater. And I mean underwater. There are places in Washington that have no chance. They are going to perish. How the people in the town that do know about the Cascadia subduction zone is they assume when that siren goes off for real, and it's not a drill day, it's not their, once a month drill, they know they're dead. That is how they see it. There is no way out. There's one road out of, say, place like Ocean Shores. There can be up to 500,000 tourists there on a packed summer day. If you have a 9.0 earthquake just in one town, a tourist town, they have had at their peak a 500,000 people weekend. And this town is already a tourist attraction. I would wonder how many, if it's 100,000, 125,000, if it happens on a tourist day with Ocean Shores packed to the brim, the beach is covered, it's a 30-minute drive out of that city. The tsunami will hit within 15 minutes in that city. The tsunami will be above their tallest tower. Their tallest tower is like a little radio tower that maybe 3 or 4 people could hang on each side at the very top and still be 10 feet underwater. That's how bad it is in Ocean Shores. Now they're saying that it's even more dangerous because it's broken up into multiple spots, and if one of these multiple spots breaks, that it could trigger all 3 of the other spots. Not to mention, this is a subduction zone, so it is a major fault line. It is the North American plate and the Marfoogle plate, and it's pushing down, and there's pressure going. A FEMA liaison, somebody who coordinated the response for Cascadia between not only the military response for Cascadia subduction zone and the FEMA response, said that they had knowledge. They had a lot more knowledge than they would like to say. And they said that they actually believed it would have already happened. They believed they were overdue by a few years. In public, at that time, nobody was saying that. Now they are starting to say exactly what I said 5 or 6 years ago. Many are starting to come around to the fact that it's not 50, 60, 150, 200 years away. More and more people are going along the lines of, there's a lot of signs, a lot of holes opening up in this thing. There's another hole was just found that's releasing pressure, and there's all these weird things going on. More and more people are going to come along to it. Now, there's no absolute proof that this thing is overdue, but as we know, we are not told anything until after it happens. Cascadia subduction zone will be a 9.0 earthquake that will knock everybody off their feet from Canada to the tip of California. It could actually trigger, and this is no joke, it could trigger Yellowstone. An earthquake of this size could easily trigger not only Yellowstone, or say it doesn't trigger Yellowstone, it could trigger the Ring of Fire. It could trigger volcanoes. It could trigger San Andreas. Imagine where the entire West Coast, from Canada to Mexico, lights up in fire. Every brick building for 1,000 miles. So say it goes along and it triggers San Andreas. We're talking about a massive earthquake. It could take out hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives. Their estimates are in the tens of thousands, 20s of thousands, 30s of thousands. That is BS. That is how many people will, in any given day, even on the off season, there's that many people in Ocean Shores. Maybe in the worst winter month, maybe there's the actual population of Ocean Shores, which is 5,000, but I highly doubt it. And the more I looked into this, the scarier it is, the fact that people really didn't know. People in Ocean Shores, back when I started, did not know. Here's Ocean Shores. So look at this. This is Ocean Shores, for example, and Westport, both. And I said West Point a second ago. Westport is a little better off because they might be able to get to high ground. So say if you're at the tip here in Ocean Shores. So let's see, you're in, this is all of the tourist area. These are the houses they just built. They've built houses out here. The park and all that. There's water on both sides. You can literally see water in most of the town, right? So this is the little town, right? This little city right here. The one road out. Look at this one road. The one road out that leaves town is this. So you're talking about if you have hundreds of thousands or even just 100,000, everybody's going to have to go to the end of this main road, the main city town street goes to, then take a right, then take a left, and then take this 2-lane road, 2 lanes, go all the way out here, and this whole thing to get back to land. And on a busy day, this could be stop and go. You're talking about anywhere from 15 minutes driving fast when there's nothing to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. If it's stopped, people are screwed. They've got to get to high ground somewhere over here. So this is like really scary. Every time I go to Ocean Shores, I think about it. Every time I go to Ocean Shores, my family thinks about it. There's a jetty here. Now, up the coast, all of this is going to be underwater. They show that Westport and Ocean Shores are all going to be completely underwater. Water is going to inundate this area because of how the water is. It is actually going to flood deep, deep into McCleary, into Camelchi, into Matlock, all of this. Up here, you've got Queets, Mo Clips. So this is where I've talked about, and I've told you guys about this before. There is a limestone cliff here. Let me see if I can actually find it on here. It should be right in Mo Clips. So this is pretty easy to find. Right there. Is that it? Let's see. There's a limestone cliff. Is that it? No. It's further down. There's a 125-foot cliff. And I'm trying to see if this makes sense. I think it's right here. Is that it? Or is it farther up? No, I think it... Am I wrong? No, that's it. Yeah, so that was the evacuation point for the whole town, right? Somewhere right around here. And the evacuation point, essentially what they have said now, is going to be underwater. Now, how is it going to be underwater if it's 125 feet high? Why has what's it called? University of Washington put 24/7 monitoring on this area if it's not going to be if it's going to not be underwater. Well, that is because what you have is a jetty out here. Now, this is what they call the jetty. See this line out here? It is where the actual water underneath, or the ground underneath, has a sharp dip in it. All the way down to Ocean Shores here, they call it the jetty. And when you're boating out here, it's really rough waters because of how it hits this jetty. And I don't know if this is a visual representation of it, but basically it goes up. And what that's going to do is when this all goes off, there's going to be a giant earthquake, 9.0. It lasts 5 minutes. Everything here, the North American plate, this all the way from Canada all the way down, is going to move this way towards the water 45 feet. So if you're standing in Philomath, you're going to be standing 45 feet towards Wren. Then this is going to snap up. This whole thing is going to snap, and all of that water has to go somewhere. It's going to shoot a tsunami towards us, and it's going to shoot a tsunami towards Japan and other places. Japan will get a tsunami, a smaller one than us, but it will get a tsunami as well. All of these low-lying areas, people are going to perish all the way down in all of these cities. That is so terrifying to me, and the fact is they're not fixing things. They're not retrofitting like they should be. Nobody is going to pay attention until it happens. It's going to be the worst disaster we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Hands down. Absolutely hands down. And they're still not doing it. So I'm still working on it. I'm not going to give up. A lot of people know about it, but I still think that there's reason to bring it apart. And again, I think that the more and more that comes out, you're going to see all of the stuff that I've been covering over the years. On this one, I don't have doubts in myself about. As far as the crazier theories going on in the world, there's some stuff. But this, I am knowledgeable about this, and that's because I've moved 3 times because of the people I know. They said in one of the places I lived, the ground underneath would have been liquefied. The other place I lived, they were like, you're on solid stone, but you're basically right by a place where the water is going to come in and just inundate the crap out of you. So I've moved to the east of the whole state's not going to be covered, but everything west of I-5, a lot of places all the way down to California is going to be inundated. So watch that video, share with a friend and family member, especially if they don't know about Cascadia subduction zone. If they live in any of the cities going all the way up this coastline, then you should have them know about this. And I'm not giving up on my video, and it's not going to be a YouTube video. My intention for it was to be a full-blown documentary. Right after I announced I was doing it, several people released theirs, like the big people with big money. And some of the people I even tried to interview, they said, no, sorry, this other person who has a lot of money said that they signed non-competes. So people I already had lined up for my interviews said that they had non-competes with somebody else in kind of our community, but very rich compared to us. They did a thing on it, and then they had them sign non-competes. I was like, wow, that's kind of low. But I'm super glad that people know about this now. But what are they doing about it? The more you look into it, the less you realize that they're just not doing crap about it. They should be moving all of the schools all the way up and down here. It's really scary. And I hope that if you're in any of these towns, that you have a plan. And I really mean that. Dex, you guys don't have really even earthquakes out there. We don't have tornadoes and the storms you have. But when we get this earthquake, it's going to be a life-changing event. It's going to be a world-changing event.
You know, it is. And I often wonder, and I guess this is the one thing I talk to you about. I know you look at it from a natural point of view. I tend to think about, like, what are they going to do? What could they do from a wartime point of view? When you think of what is it, the Sarmat, it's the Poseidon or whatever that torpedo is that Russia says they have that can launch a tsunami, a nuclear tsunami. Could something like that trigger this? Could something like that be done in coordination with, say, an EMP and really just put a major catastrophe on the West Coast, a major, lights out scenario across the U.S. that wouldn't really damage the homeland, so to speak, for, as far as bringing the spoils back to the aggressor. But, we have, and what is it? Yellowstone is in the same boat. Like, is there something they could do there militarily to harm us? Those are some of the questions I have, but yeah, I don't know the whole earthquake stuff because we just don't get it here in Georgia. I mean, if we get one, it's small, but it's super rare.
So this is part of the Cascadia like Dex said, we were talking about this on the other video. What if they could strategically place a submarine could pull up, drop a little nuke here. If one part, especially after this new study came out and shows that it is in 4 distinctive chunks. The North American is under, so think of America is under this ocean plate. If there's 4 different chunks, if you take any one of those chunks out, or say you blow a part of the chunk holding down the North American plate, is it going to be easier to snap up? And if it snaps up, then there's going to be so much pressure that the rest of the Cascadia subduction zone is going to flip and just go. It's going to snap all the way down and back up. Could you do that man-made? Could this be a man-made disaster? Could this be something that could be triggered by man? That's another scary point because it's, as we know, so say if it's not due and the worst estimates are a couple hundred years that say our great-grandkids will see this, which is terrifying in itself. We don't care, though. We'll be dead. Who cares, right? The Japanese, the reason why so many people live now is because people back in the 80s said, we need to make our buildings because we got some pretty big earthquakes here. They made all of their buildings to a standard that was unlike any other city. Like a lot of the places around the world have never built like most of Japan was built. And that's why so many people lived in Japan through this 9.0 5-minute earthquake. In this is something just on a whole other level. And all of the metropolises along this whole thing. It could trigger all of the Ring of Fire. There's, 7 volcanoes like in that 600-mile stretch. 21 states are preparing. Look at the United States right here. 21 states. So all of these states that are popping up in blue, all of these states are preparing for it. What was it? Utah? No, Nevada. Nevada was preparing to take in people on foot. That is their plan. They say we are going to be taking people from California by foot when these kind of events happen. Same with Idaho. Idaho believes that people will be walking from the coastline to Idaho. FEMA says, FEMA, by the way, the employees have go bags in all of their cars. They don't have enough to help everything in state. They will depend on states like Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. All of these states will have to chip in. Places like Portland, Oregon, go if you want to really stay up at night and not go to sleep, go look at the Portland, Oregon simulation by the city. They did a simulation of what's going to happen to their freeways. Freeways are going to collapse. All of the overpasses over I-5 going north and south, which essentially all of them are going to collapse and chunk. In Maine, Portland, like where Burnside is, Burnside's going to be under concrete. Like all of that's going to drop down. So it's pretty terrifying to see the official simulations of this and how it will be. 5 minutes long. Think about how long that is. It's almost as long. Basically, this segment was 7 minutes. So almost as long as us talking about it. That's how long it would have been shaking. You guys have a wonderful night. Make sure to share that video out with any friend and family, whether they're from Bandon, from Newport to Ocean Shores, wherever they're at. Share that video out. Okay? Homework for tonight. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Dex, thank you so much for all of your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you so much for the support. Danish Girl, I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Carlton Sutton. Thank you, Carl Mosher, Kat Nevitz, Kenny Cams, and over on D-Live. Thank you, Kimbria, Shugs, Poco Loco, The Approaching Storms, and Play Keys 24, and of course, Kimbria. Thank you. Love your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. And then if you want to see that video that we did on that, make sure to go right here. Just click right here and you'll get to it. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It is a shoutro.